Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic, can be talking about why it is people usually convince themselves to not pursue their ideas, or they think themselves out of things they want to do. I'm guilty of that, like all of these things that I'm going to go over today. I'm guilty of every one of them. And a lot of other people are too, I think. It takes a lot of courage to pursue your ideas, and we're going to go through some of the reasons why right now. Okay. So I asked AI. What ways do people think or convince themselves out of good ideas they think of? They lose the courage to even try. And it came back to me. People talk themselves up to good ideas through a surprising, consistent set of psychological traps. Here are the main ones. And like I mentioned, every one of these I'm guilty of doing or having an effect of. So first one, and there's some really kind of big words. They could have, AI could have, I don't want to say dumbed it down, but made it simpler to understand, like with their words and stuff like that. Cognitive rationalization patterns. It's probably an easier way to say that. Perfectionism disguised as preparation. I call this analysis paralysis. Convincing themselves they need more research credentials or resources before starting, which becomes indefinite procrastination. So it's just a constant loop. It's like, I'm not ready. I need more information. I need to prepare myself. And it's just an endless loop. And you never actually get started doing what you want to do. I think the best thing is to just start, even a simple start to whatever, just start and then adapt as you move along. But like I said, I've been guilty of this, just analysis paralysis, needing more information, trying to correct every possible scenario or prepare for every possible scenario that could come along. It may or may not come along. It just seems like a lot of waste. It's good to be thinking on your feet for sure, but you got to start. A lot of this is just this analysis paralysis based off of you fearing what's going to happen and preparing for like disaster, or trying to evade problems or whatever. Without the problems may never even show up. Who knows? But you got to start. Comparative disqualification. Someone else is already doing this and better. Of course there are. Every niche has their subject matter experts. That's not going to stop. It's going to be very, very rare that you find something that somebody else hasn't already looked into. Ignoring that, market tolerate multiple solutions, and execution matters more than originality. So the market's going to look for different opinions, different solutions, just because people like variety. Okay, next, hyperbolic discontinuing. The future word feels abstract and distant, while the immediate risk of embarrassment feels vivid and real. So they prioritize avoiding short-term discomfort. So I like to think of it like this. You've got a timeline, or a comfort line, I should say, and you're used to this comfort line. Trying something new, there's going to be a bit of a learning curve and a change in your behavior and patterns. You're going to get out of your comfort zone. So comfort's going to drop, and it's not going to feel good. This is the sucky part, right? Down a little bit. But then eventually over time, it's going to start coming up and up and up and up and up and up and surpass where you were before. And that'll feel really good. It's kind of like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you got a certain fitness level, which may not be good, but what you're comfortable with. And the first couple weeks, I've always experienced the first couple weeks, they're not going to be fun. You're going to be sore and tired and weak. But after a couple weeks, you get into that habit, things start picking up. Before you know it, 4 to 6 weeks down the road, you're loving it. And you're way above where you were previously before you started. So you got to get through that sucky part to get to the good stuff. Hyperbolic discontinuing. Okay. Emotional self-protection. Failure attribution shifting. I didn't really want it anyway, or it was a dumb idea. Protecting ego by devaluing the goal before testing it. I call that cope. You're just coping. You're just making excuses or reasons why not even to try it. It kind of gets back to this discomfort portion. You kind of make excuses why you can't do it to protect yourself, right? Fear of failure. You should just get out and do it. Small steps at first. Just start. I mean, without even trying it, how are you going to know? Imposter logic. Who am I to do this? Conflating competence with credentialism. Oh, so you don't have a degree in something. So if you don't have a degree in something or a diploma or some sort of certificate saying that you've jumped through all these hoops and learned all these steps, you don't know what you're talking about. Where the information, like on the internet, that is all you really need to know to get your competence up. Knowing what you're talking about and how to execute something is just as, or maybe even more important than having the credentialisms. Because credentialism to me seems like it's more theory, and competence seems like it's more theory and practical use, right? Oh, and it says waiting for permission that never comes. Like your only person you're gonna get permission from is you. So take that. Spotlight effect. Overestimating how much others will scrutinize and remember their failures. The truth is most people are absorbed in their own concerns. Yeah, so you're worried about what other people think of you doing what you're doing. And you're worried about their judgment on you, but realistically, they're really more concerned about their own stuff, what they're doing. And they're less concerned about what you're doing, especially if you don't mention anything to them, right? If you just do it in the background, without telling anyone, or making a, big deal or getting validation from other people. Look what I'm doing. I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. That comes up here too, that portion when you actually tell people what you're doing. It does allow for accountability, like on yourself, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, you let people know what you're doing, then you're inviting maybe crabs in the bucket scenario where, they start, trying to defeat your idea or whatever, right? But realistically, they're more worried about their own concerns. So if you don't tell them in the first place, then it doesn't matter. If that overestimating how others will scrutinize you, just don't tell anyone. If you don't tell anyone, they're not going to be concerned about it because they're concerned about their own stuff. Let's see here. Risk miscalculation. Asymmetric loss aversion. See, there's probably a simpler way to say that. The pain of losing $100 feels roughly twice as intense as pleasure of gaining $100. Yeah, the fear of losing something. I think that's a scarcity mindset, though. Right? You got to have some sort of risk, and if you're willing to feel comfortable with a certain tolerance for loss, like say you feel comfortable losing $100, but the pleasure gain if you're willing to risk $100, you're going to want to gain maybe $200 or $300. So that kind of ratio, right? But if you convince yourself that $100 all I'm willing to lose to make $200 or $300, then keep it at that. You're mitigating the risk. You're mitigating your loss. And if you can mitigate your loss and stick with that, you should be able to overcome the loss aversion, right? That mindset. Sunk cost blindness. Paradoxically, they fear wasting effort on something new more than wasting years on the wrong path. Okay, so I think what this is saying is they put so much effort into something that isn't panning out, they'd rather continue on what is probably could be the wrong path rather than cutting their losses and starting on a new project or a new path that could be successful, more successful. Maybe they had an idea and it's not panning out, or new information has come where they kind of figure that it's not going to be successful or as successful as what they wanted, but they put so much time and effort into it. They've got value and part of their identity tied up into it that they don't want to cut it free. But they came up with another idea. Maybe they got information or skills, or they can recognize a better opportunity over here, but they're afraid of cutting this because they've got so much invested into it, so much of themselves invested into it, that they want to preserve that and not even bother trying that, the new idea. So that's another way that you could, sabotage yourself with your thinking. Sunk cost blindness. Binary outcome distortion. Imagining only total success or catastrophic failure, missing the high probability of partial success, pivoting, and valuable learning. I'm guilty of that too. It's all or nothing. The all or nothing mindset. But there's so much learning in between, right? And you're going to get your micro successes. There's going to be failures, but if you mitigate your risk, the failures won't be so bad. And you'll learn from it, which will eventually turn into more success. And that's how you become total success, totally successful. Mitigate the failures and the risk, and the success should take care of itself with your learning, of course, the pivoting, and the partial successes. You're going to figure out what works, what doesn't. But this all stems to, going out and trying and doing and learning and pivoting. All of this. Social contamination, normative anchoring, taking career cues from peers who are also playing it safe, creating a local consensus that risk is irrational. So that's this groupthink. So here's another risk of sharing too much of your ideas. You share your ideas, you share your visions or whatever into the collective. What kind of influence are they going to have on you to stop pursuing your endeavors? Maybe they're going to be crabs in the bucket, where they want to drag you down so you don't succeed. Maybe there's that element to it. And maybe they're just projecting their own stuff onto you as to why you shouldn't do that, because that's the way they feel. Right. Misery validation, sharing the idea with the wrong person, or wrong people, competitive friends, risk-averse family who unconsciously project their own fears. Yeah, I was just talking about that. They just project their own fears onto you because they're in their safe zone. They've created their safe world, and the risks that you're taking somehow threaten their safe world, that something they would never do. So they try and project their fears and limitations on you to make themselves feel safe, more or less. Some people just don't want to see other people succeed because they have their own limiting beliefs inside them. So take that with a grain of salt. And what I'm getting from this mostly is like, if you have new ideas, new projects you want to do, like keep that under wraps by yourself until you hit a certain level of success, where the point where their negativity or their fears, their limiting beliefs don't affect you, because you've already proven to yourself that works this way, a certain way, and whatever they say doesn't, because you've got the knowledge and experience and the track record that their comments or negativity or their projections don't necessarily affect you. But before you get to that point, that negativity and stuff could affect your decisions moving forward, because you have nothing really to go off of. You don't have your own experiences. You don't have your own knowledge. Now, some people may catch wind of what you're doing or whatever, and they're curious or whatever. In that context, and depending how much experience and knowledge you got, speak with them confidently, but don't give them too many ideas on where you're at and what you're doing, that sort of thing. Okay, it says the fix here. People who act anyway tend to lower the stakes. Test a small version first, make it feel like an experiment rather than a commitment. So that's just getting your feet wet, trying to figure it out. Again, gaining that knowledge and experience to gain the confidence in what you're doing. Now this one here, pre-commit publicly. Announcing creates accountability that outweighs the comfort of quitting quietly. Again, I'm not a big fan of that until you get to a certain level where you have confidence in yourself and what you're doing. You've got the knowledge and experience to kind of mitigate the negativity from other people who may project their own limiting beliefs on you to get you to fail. Reframe failure. This will succeed or I'll have a good story. Treating outcomes as information rather than verdicts on their worth. That's a good idea too. That's where the learning comes in, right? Don't be so negative on yourself. Like all the failures in life, the failures that you are supposed to be learning experiences. You're not going to succeed 100% of the time, all the time on everything you do. So take the learning and advance from that and get better. Courage isn't the absence of these thoughts. It's having them and moving anyway, because the cost of wondering what if eventually exceeds the cost of finding out. Yeah, right. So take 100% of the shots that you can take. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Some of those shots, say you take 10 shots and you only land 5 shots. It's better than thinking of 10 shots and not taking any shots. You get 0 shots. That's the way I see it anyway. All these things that we just talked about, these are all things that I've gone through myself, and you still go through them. So I basically, like I mentioned before, as far as like telling other people your ideas or whatever, I keep that on the back burner until I get a certain level of success, knowledge, experience. And then, I don't go bragging about it to everyone. If somebody's intrigued or ask me what I'm up to or whatever, they'll come up and have a conversation, and I'll give them a little bit of a lowdown. But if they're more interested, I go more in depth with it. But I just try and keep outside influence out of my brain and work on myself. I know there's a couple guys I know, they just keep everything completely secret. They don't tell anyone anything. They're fairly successful too, right? And it shows. Like people will see the way they're living their life, how they got it structured, and they'll wonder. Then they'll ask a little bit, but they keep it kind of on the down low. They'll keep it's like, I'm just working on a few projects or whatever, right? So keep your limiting beliefs. Like all your limiting beliefs can be summed up and defeated. It just, you having self-doubt in yourself. If you got to create an alter ego to succeed, then if that works for you, that works for you. Anyway, I think that'll be it for this episode. If you made it with me this far, I thank you. Please like, comment, and share. And we'll talk to you next time.